Well, boys, our next guest played over 542 games for 6 different teams in the NHL. He's now an analyst for the NHL Network. Devan Dubnyk joining us on the Athletic Hockey Show. Thanks for doing this, Devan.
Yeah, thanks for having me, boys.
I was looking it up because I couldn't remember the exact date, but it's been less than a year since you officially decided to hang them up, and you're doing the broadcasting thing now. So I guess before we get into the playoffs and everything, how's life as a retired goalie / hockey analyst? How's it been so far?
It's good. Yeah, it's been longer than that. It was the official retirement came after my random brief stint there in Charlotte when during COVID there when thought I was going to do some Hockey Canada stuff and it never panned out. So I got another loop in the minors there, which was awesome. But no, in Charlotte. I mean, Charlotte's such a beautiful city, and the team was incredible. I met some awesome guys, and obviously felt extremely old being there, but it was cool. And then, I kind of knew it was the end when sitting in the corner in Hartford, realized I hadn't been there for 12 years. And there was about 50 people in the building, and the kids beside me were telling me I should get in there and play. And I was like, but if I get in there, my back's going to snap in half right now. So I'm not going to do it. And then I watched him in the corner Googling me. And then he turned around and I was like, how old are you? And he's like, I'm 13. And I was like, yeah, I was sitting in this corner when you were being born last time. So I realized it was about time to call it a day at that point.
First of all, I got to apologize. About 1,000 times in print, I've spelled your name D-U-B-Y. Apparently, it's D-U-B-E-Y, according to your Zoom here. Either you're misspelling it, or I misspelled it 1,000 times.
I don't think there's an official spelling, so you don't have to apologize.
But before we get to Stanley Cup Final, I just wanted to ask you about your career here in Minnesota. I mean, obviously, you were a revelation here. You come here your first year and you saved the season. Your numbers were absolutely off the chart, especially on the road, especially in the second of back-to-backs. Vezina, runner-up, win the Masterton, all that stuff. How much was that an unexpected thing from your standpoint to go from staying at, was it the Staybridge Suites in Hamilton to
it was the Staybridge. You got that dialed, yes.
Yeah. Didn't you almost get sued because of a story I wrote?
Yeah, they weren't impressed. We got a letter from the city of Hamilton after we did a story where I talked about not feeling comfortable going to Tim Hortons because of the bike gangs all parked out front in downtown Hamilton at the Staybridge Suites. So I remember Aaron Sickman coming up to me, who's the PR guy for the Wild, and telling me he received this letter from the city of Hamilton and asked if I wanted to do anything about it. And I just laughed. I don't know what you want me to do. I was just telling my story about what happened. But yeah, I mean, I always said that I believed that I was a starting goalie, and I never kind of thought otherwise. When that year happened, I kind of let it go and took the pressure off myself a little bit and just said, let's be grateful for being in the best league in the world. And your time might have passed, but work your butt off to make sure that you stay in the league in whatever capacity that is. If you're a backup goalie, you're a backup goalie, and enjoy every 60 minutes you get to get on the ice, or 30 minutes or whatever if you're coming off the bench. And I kind of just took that approach. So when I got traded to Minnesota, I was kind of playing with it was like bonus time for me. And so I never really thought about how crazy it was, everything that was going on. And the playing the 38 games in a row and playing all these back-to-backs and the improbability of us making the playoffs, it never crossed my mind. But once it was there, once I got a taste for it and realized that I could do this and I could be a starting goalie in the NHL, and it came back pretty quick that that's exactly what I wanted to do. And could have never imagined the run that it was, but we've really enjoyed Minnesota. We're still here. Obviously, we had 2 of our kids here. We've met so many incredible people away from hockey, which is a big part of what kept us here. Our neighborhood, our neighbors, people are so nice. Just the people in Minnesota in general, when you go to the rink, when you take the kids to their sports, everybody is so respectful and just nice people, and it's just a great place to call home.
All right, Devin, I'll jump into the Stanley Cup Final, and we got to start with Sergei Bobrovsky. He's obviously one of the biggest stories, and I want to get your perspective because he's clearly back at the top of his game, and I'm wondering, what do you notice? Like, what do you think he's found that has allowed him to get to the top of his game? Because he obviously wasn't there for a little while before that. Like, when you watch him play, what stands out to you?
So it's hard to pinpoint, because I would say it's more strange that he wasn't here earlier. He's always been one of my favorite guys to watch play. His explosiveness, his power, his flexibility, everything. I've watched him in when he was playing in Columbus, down the stretch, where he just doesn't look like he's ever going to get scored on, regardless of the play, which is exactly what it looks like right now. I've seen this before. So it was more strange to me that, not that it took a little bit, because sometimes changes happen, and you're not going to, I think the contract was deserved, he was the best goalie in the league at the time of the signing. And you don't always go somewhere and have a magical change and it continues to go. Sometimes there's a little bit of growing pains and getting used to a new system and new life and living. There's so many other things that come with playing hockey that's not just being on the ice. So the biggest surprise to me was that it hadn't got to this point yet. And now they're playing a much more structured game, much more defensive game, and that doesn't mean they're not giving things up, but you can just tell he's confident. He knows what's happening in front of him, and he knows, there's not 6 different options. There's a shot or there's a pass, and that allows you to be comfortable and sit on that shot and be dialed on that shot. And when you have his capabilities, then you're not letting that in. And then if that play comes, you don't have to worry about 4 or 5 other plays. You just know that's the one. It's either this or it's this. And that's why you see him making these incredible saves, because it's certainly not, Florida's playing great defensively. They're blocking a lot of shots, but it's not like they're not giving up chances. It's the game today, chances happen. And some of the saves he's made are incredible. And that's where the confidence on what's going on in front of you allows you to kind of be free and release that skill and ability that he has. And that's kind of what we've seen. It's been fun to watch, because it's always, like I said, it's more strange to me that it hasn't happened before this than this happening now. This happening now, I'm like, well, yeah, okay. That's what I figured would happen at some point. I just didn't realize it would take this long, but I'm not surprised.
Devin, I don't know if you ever listened to our show, but Jesse's our resident goalie guy. His biggest skill is you could be talking about like the Succession finale, and he'll somehow morph it into a goaltending question. So I know when we got you on today, he was pretty excited. But I also have a goaltending question. It is something I did throw out to Jesse a couple of weeks ago, but I wanted your opinion on it too. And it just deals with goaltending tandems, because you've got Adin Hill right now, and because Rousseau is injured, you got Jonathan Quick backing him up. And I'm just wondering how valuable that is for, we're not going to see, barring an injury, probably Jonathan Quick in this series, but we're talking about a guy who's been there, done that. We're talking about a guy who's won a Stanley Cup. We're talking about a guy who is just a wealth of knowledge in this subject. How big is that for a starting goaltender to be able to have almost like a second goaltending coach who just happens to have a Stanley Cup ring?
Yeah, it's huge. And it's not, there's so many parts of it that go into that, where when you think of Adin Hill, and he's been phenomenal, and I don't think he's been talked about enough, which, to be honest, I'm sure he's fine with. He's doing his thing. He's playing incredibly well, and I'm sure he's fine with not being the front and center talk of the town. Like Jake Ottinger was. Every time he let in a goal there, it was like, where's the Jake Ottinger we always knew? And Adin Hill was kind of just over there doing his thing. But there's so many parts of it. It's the having a guy to talk to in the dressing room, having won 2 Stanley Cups, having been through the grind of the playoffs, the ups and the downs. And I think a huge step for Adin Hill was last game, because that was kind of what I was watching was, the game-winning goal in Game 5 wasn't a good one, and everybody's kind of wondering, like, is it going to teeter? Is the pressure going to come? Is he going to fall off? And that was what I was really watching for. And all he does is go and pitch a shutout in game 6. And so that was really good. But if you're in this situation where there's so much pressure going into you're in the conference finals, have a chance to get into the Stanley Cup finals, and you have your American League call-up goalie on the bench, that pressure, you don't have like a safety net. Like if you screw up, there's nothing there. Like you're the guy, and if you don't do it, then nobody's there to do it. And even if he's Quickie never plays, it's still something for Adin Hill to know that you have this veteran Stanley Cup winner on the bench who's capable of coming in and winning games if something were to happen. And it's almost like I said, it's like a security blanket, knowing that you have this guy there. And it doesn't sound like much, but mentally, especially when the pressure ramps up like it is, it's a huge thing to have.
Devan, I just posted an Eric Stahl feature on the Athletic, and I was talking to him the other day, and he talked last year about what last year was like about for him, and I know that you could relate just playing a game that you love and then sort of feeling you're retired but still wanting to having that hunger to win. I know Eric lives near you. You were both out of the game watching probably the Wild play last year. What was last year like for both of you? Any stories about that? And how amazing is it for somebody his age to spend an entire year out of hockey because nobody will sign you? Then you somehow make it on a PTO, which is not easy for a veteran. Usually you're just a placeholder and sent on your way, but he makes the team, and now he's in for him his second straight final.
Well, it says a ton about Stalzy in general and how much he loves hockey and how much he cares about winning. And he's, that's never been a question with Eric Stahl. But for somebody you look at his career before this year, he's done everything. He's won everything. He's captained teams. He's done everything you could possibly imagine. He's got 1,000 points, over 1,000 points. There was no reason for him to do what he did and to continue to stay in shape and to continue to skate unless you just have that drive to win and love of the game. Because if it would have been easy for anybody to hang him up, it's Stalzy. He's done, like I said, he's done everything. He's made more than enough money. He's won Stanley Cup. He's won Olympics. He's won World Championships. Like, what else is there to do other than he just loves hockey and he loves to be on the team and he loves to win? And so I think the opportunity to play with Mark was a big motivator going into this year, going to Florida as well. But it just, to me, his ability to continue to skate, like he's out there skating on his own last year and staying in shape and getting out to the Olympics and leading that team and to be able to go through an entire year and just stay dialed like that and stay on and then come back and have this year it just shows you how much it means to him and just that his character and personality of just wanting to win and wanting to play hockey. It's amazing.
Devan, just lastly, just wanted to ask you about your transition to being on media. I remember talking to Big Dave at one of the All-Star games you were in, and he said he saw this in your future. I remember one of your best moments on Valley Sports North was when you had a coughing fit. I felt so bad for you. You could not breathe. But
it came out of nowhere too, and I thought it was like I'm like I'll be fine in a second. I just kept trying to grind through it too.
Yeah. But you look like a natural on there. I mean, you've always been, as I've always told Wild fans, you're always somebody that we flock to your stall just to shoot the breeze about the sport, and now you get to do that on a nightly basis. How's that transition been, and is it allowed you to sort of feel like you're staying inside the game?
Yeah, it's honestly it kind of came out of nowhere. I was watching the playoffs last year and nothing was really going on, and I was just watching the NHL Network and I was like, I feel like I could give some good insight on there, and so we called them up and went and gave it a try, and it was fun. With as long as I played, it was such an easy transition. I felt like I knew everybody there already. I'd been into the network multiple times and done interviews with them, so it wasn't a whole bunch of people I didn't know or hadn't talked to, and I went in and it was fun and decided to give it a go this year, and I feel like it's getting easier kind of every show to just be comfortable with yourself and tell stories and kind of be yourself and give insights and it's getting a little easier each time as we go here. It's been a lot of fun, and I really never thought, like I said, it kind of came out of nowhere last year. It never was something that I'm like, oh, when I'm done playing, I'm going to go on a panel and be on the NHL Network or do whatever. It just kind of came naturally, and it's been very nice to hear the nice things that people say about me being on there. And again, comes back to how people in Minnesota, how nice everybody is. I mean, it's like everywhere I go, it's like I'm more famous now that I was on the NHL Network than I was when I was playing. But people send me pictures of they're working out in the gym and I'm on the TV, and it's been a lot of fun, and it's nice to stay in the game and be able to talk to continue to talk to players and talk to people involved in the game and just kind of stay involved in it. It's been a lot of fun.
And guys like us too. We appreciate you come on here and talk a little hockey with us. Devin, thanks so much for doing this.
Real quick.
I highly doubt that one. Thanks so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the playoffs. Maybe we'll get you on after the Stanley Cup Final.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Devan Dubnyk, former NHL goaltender and now analyst on the NHL Network.